everybody. Welcome to the very first video in Danelle's journey. This right here is Danelle Wright. She is a new author and she is about to embark on one crazy journey. Hey, Danny, how you doing?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So you and I have been having a bunch of discussions and I already know you. But I want our viewers to get to know you and get to understand what it is that you're about to show us. And over the next several weeks, months, maybe, we're going to take them on a journey into what exactly. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So definitely, I feel like I am taking our readers or our followers on a journey where I am sharing and being transparent with my life and my memoirs in my first book, where I will be talking about a lot of some of the things that I went through in my early childhood, failed relationships, abuse, early pregnancy, growing up without a father, my religious background, and the things that I've done and the things that I've learned that have kind of made this story something that I feel like everyone would want to hear, and or at least those that have that can relate or have gone through some of the things that I've gone through, or maybe still going through them, and just being able to inspire and help others change their lives and see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. I mean, so this journey is not just a journey about you writing a book for the first time, but this is also a personal journey for you, isn't it? How
Yeah,
so?
it is definitely. It's a personal journey for me because the whole reason why I want to write is because I believe that my purpose in writing is telling my personal story. So, in order for me to tell my personal story, that means I had to go through a lot of um, things that aren't common to a normal growing up child or young lady. And it's unfortunate that these things are becoming more and more common, and more people are expressing that they have gone through these things and that they're trying to heal from these things. And it became personal to me because it started before I was able to make my own decisions.
Mm.
And I felt like if God allowed me to go through these things when I was an infant all the way up into adulthood, and He kept me happy and He kept me sane, because a lot of people look at me and they're like, you don't look like what you've been through, because God had a purpose for me to go through it. And so I knew that there was a reason why I went through everything. And I knew it was going to be something that was going to be big and impactful in my adulthood. And so I always felt like I had this calling, and I always felt like I had this purpose to tell my story, but I didn't have the confidence. And I was ashamed, and I was ashamed of some of the bad decisions that I had made and some of the situations that I allowed myself to get in. And so I had to go through a healing process. And so this is just me being transparent about all of that. And I feel like it is necessary because this is why God created me. This is why God allowed me to go through all this. This wasn't a choice that I made, because yeah, I made some bad choices along the way, but this journey started before I was even born. And you'll see that when you read the book.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, where we are in the process, just so everybody knows. So Danny has written her book, and that's just about all that's been done, right? Like it's been written.
Yeah.
So
It's
we're
been written.
taking her and her book through the entire process. So you guys will be able to see what exactly that looks like, from the editing, the formatting, the cover creating, the publishing, the marketing, everything. We're going to take you guys on that whole journey, but you're going to see it through Danelle's eyes. So this is just the first video, but in the videos to come, you'll see her video diaries. You'll see clips of what we're going through, problems that we are inevitably going to run into, and we'll be working it out. But the whole point is to show you, those who are writing and who want to become authors, that it's possible. It is possible. And it seems like it can't be, right? Like, Dale, tell us a little bit about that. Like, before you started writing, or I should say, before you ended up with me, working with me, what was your mindset? What were your doubts?
Well, you know, because we've had a few personal conversations and I've shared with you this writing journey of mine for a long time. Shared with you how long I've been working on this. So I would definitely give you an amen that a lot of people that, in my opinion, that have a passion or a calling to write, they second guess what do they have that's different from what other writers have shared, and why would anybody want to read their books, and what credentials do they have that make them credible to even listen to have something to say? Like, why would anybody want to listen to what I have to say, especially when I've made all the mistakes that I've made, so those kind of things make you have shame and make you feel like you don't have as much to offer. And the very thing that makes you feel ashamed, I'm sorry, the very thing that makes you feel ashamed is the very thing that is going to elevate you, is the very thing that is your purpose. Because I was reading before and it says something like, anything that you have a problem with, that's what you were created to solve. Because the thing that you have a problem with, so it doesn't bother somebody. And I started to just think about what I went through and things like that. And one thing that stood out to me, and I actually wrote it down in my journal, which is how my book started, because I just started to keep a journal. The one thing that I wrote down that stood out to me was, I took my abuse and I made it into a bestseller. And sometimes we have to take our lemons and make them into lemonade. And what I did is I said, you know what, a lot of things that people did to me that they felt like it was going to hold me down. You felt like you were burying me under the dirt. You just planted me deeper so that my seed would sprout and I would become the tree that God created me to be. And that's what I ended up gaining my own confidence in, that my purpose was in my story, not my shame.
Right.
And
can I just applaud that right there? I just have to applaud that for a second, because that's so huge. And we hear that all the time. People who have stories to be told, whether they want to tell it to relieve their own pressure or whatever they're going through, or they want other people to learn from it so that they can impact other people's lives. Whatever their purpose is, whatever their goal is, a lot of them say, well, why me? Right? Just like you said, like, who's going to want to read what I wrote? Who am I? Nobody knows me. What am I doing? But that's where
and then I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was going to say too, a lot of times when you have a story like mine to tell, or if you have a painful story like that to tell, it's probably because you've been through some kind of rejection in your life. And so even with that rejection, you don't want to experience more rejection. And you know that those people probably close around you that should support you, you probably don't get support from. And so that even clarifies even more. It even magnifies that feeling of self-doubt, like, the people that are close to me that should support me don't even support me. Why would anybody else? But then when you start doing evaluations, most of the time when you start your own business, or if you're an entrepreneur, your client base doesn't really start with your inner circle anyways. But it kind of takes getting out of your comfort zone to know that, and know that you still have something to offer, even if the people that are immediately close to you can't recognize it. Exactly. And thus running into you.
Right.
Had I never stuck my neck out there and even took a chance on myself, I wouldn't have ever made the post that connected me to you. And now look at where we are, and it's been nothing but a blessing. And so I would just encourage anybody that's experiencing self-doubt or want to write. It's been an amazing journey for me just in the last few weeks being connected to you, because it just let me know that I did have something to offer. And just talking to you and telling you my story, it's been impactful in our relationship and what we've been developing and in the business now that we're able to do together.
Right, exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that. But like what I love about who you are and the type of woman you are is your ability, and you said it in one word, you're able to take your abuse and turn it into a bestseller. That line it blew my mind. It blew my mind, because it means that I can't even explain how much your optimism has affected me. And I'm a business owner, right? And so I have such a business mindset where I'm not really focused on optimism or pessimism, like one way or another, it doesn't matter. There's no gray area.
Right.
It is what it is. I'm focused. But to be able to talk to you and pick up on your optimism and then pick up on it in the manuscript. It's just, it's incredible. And that's why I knew I needed to get you in front of a camera. That's why I knew I needed you to be out there so people can see who you are as an individual. So that when you do release your story and they read your story, it'll tie together. And they're like, yeah, I already know who Danelle is. So when you're reading that story and you guys see what she actually went through, and you see where she is right, like she's amazing. You see where she is right now and what she's doing right now. It's incredible. And we call it a journey, but I'm sorry, it was hell. I didn't even go through it. I just read it. That's not a journey.
And that is only the first part.
There's that. This is just the beginning. This is the first book. It doesn't even scratch the surface of your life thus far.
And so, it just shows how amazing God is.
Truly.
Every step of the way. Like you will, when you tap into my story, when my readers tap into my story, what I want them to see is a vision of themselves and God working it out.
Exactly.
I want them to be able to put themselves in my shoes, whether they've experienced exactly what I've experienced or not. It's not about what you experience. It's about the feeling. It's about what affects your life from now on, because sometimes we want to look at the details, but it's in the root. It's just one little thing that happened that made you feel a certain way that affected the decisions that you made for a decade later. And that's what I had to go through the process of realizing, because sometimes we think that we're healing and we're not healing, we're just suppressing.
Yeah, that is true. That is so true. But now my question now is, since we're at the very beginning stages of your book, and this is where most authors are at this point, most authors, they have their book typed up or written out one way or another, and they're like, now what? I got my book.
Now what?
Now what do I do? So you're definitely at the now what stage. And so as our viewers go through, well, as you go through the process and our viewers watch you go through that process, can you tell us a little bit about what you anticipate, what your expectations are? Do you have any fears about what's to come?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be transparent at all times. Girl is scared. Like, I'm scared about what the response is going to be. I'm scared about whether or not people will accept it or like it. I'm scared about whether or not I'll have what it takes to stand up to the criticism. I'm afraid of the cost. I'm afraid of the time it's going to take to market it. And do I have the freedom? And do I have the money and the resources? And how am I going to make certain connections? And the one thing I'm not afraid of is my story.
There it is.
I'm not afraid of my story. And that is why my why is bigger than every hurdle that comes up to say, what about this? What about that? But I'm afraid. And when I first finished writing my manuscript, first it started out with just my journal. I had been writing for years. It had been probably 14 years since I first got the calling to write my story. And I started writing it and I just couldn't finish it. Sometimes I get caught up in my emotions of what I'm talking about and I put it away because I just didn't want to face it at the moment. Or I just didn't know how to tell the story. Did I just go in chronological order, or did I go, like, all the technicalities was something that I didn't know about. And then once I finally got it written, the first thing I did was, okay, now what? Like you said. So I went on YouTube and I was looking at how to self-publish and what was the difference between self-publishing and regular publishing. And I didn't know anything. And so I joined some Facebook groups and just tried to go and see what other self-publishers were saying and other new authors were saying. And that's when I ran into you. So I definitely feel like I have had a lot of my concerns and worries eased since I have been with Mystic, because it has been where a lot of the questions that I had, you guys are the expertise. you guys already know the process. I'm not your first author. This is just my first book.
Yeah.
And so you guys are able to hold my hand and walk me through the process. And I never once in any of our conversations with any of your staff or any of your partners felt like I was talking to or having a conversation where it wasn't like I was getting the information that I needed, or my questions weren't getting answered, or I wasn't getting clarification on something that I misunderstood. So along this process, I feel like I'm learning and I'm enjoying it because this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So even though I'm nervous, I'm excited and anxious nervous. So it's not a runaway out the door nervous. It's just that I'm scared, but I'm ready to jump in.
Yeah. That is amazing. So I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Let us get to know you a little bit better. Guys, keep an eye on our social media pages. Like, share, and subscribe to this video so you can see Danielle's next video, which is just her, and she's telling you about her life and who she is and gives you a little insight about her story and where she's taking it. Can you show us, little man? Because we see you just like,
I know. I'm sorry. Let me grab him. I will grab him. Because listen, this is my motivation. This is my why. Yes, you are. Too bad mommy didn't get you dressed up for the camera, but hi. Hi. He is 4 months on the 27th. He turned 4 months. This is little TJ, and you will definitely be seeing him around very often.
Yay, little TJ, we look forward to seeing you, little buddy. Look at
he gonna drool on camera. You gonna embarrass me like that? You just gonna.
It's all good. So thank you, Danny. Thank you so much, and everybody. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, follow us at MysticqueRose PS. That's MysticqueRose PS on all social media platforms. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.